Hi, I'm Brent. Welcome to my channel. What we have here today is a Beverly shear. This is a number 3. The capacity on a number 3 is 7 gauge in mild steel, 11 gauge in stainless steel. Now this shear is in very poor shape. Matter of fact, it's locked up completely. I want to see if we can get this thing disassembled, cleaned up, maybe painted a little bit, get it back in working order. Let's get going on this project. I'm going to spray all the threaded areas with some penetrant and we'll leave it sitting overnight. We have let our Beverly shear sit all night with penetrant on it. Now let's see if we can get this rig apart. I see it loosened that up very well. Rest the hole down. This bolt here really has some damage on it. Been beat on before. We'll see if we can get it out. Appears to be bent as well. Gear appears to be in really good shape. These don't seem to be cooperating. These Allen head bolts are being a little contrary. I'm going to try to put a little more penetrant on them and let it set maybe another day, and then we'll give it a try again. After that, we'll have to go to extreme measures. Okay, there's the lower jaw. Both the jaws appear to be in very good shape. All right, the only two remaining bolts we have in here are Allen heads used to adjust the lower jaw. Not real optimistic I'm going to get these out of here. See if that helps any. Well, what do you know? We didn't get so lucky on that one. That one's stripped out. We'll have to drill that one out. With minimal effort, we've managed to get this Beverly shear all apart, except for we have an Allen head set screw right here that I can't remove. And then we have 3 screws that hold the upper jaw that I can't seem to remove. So we'll get those out with either a drill press or the milling machine or a little of both. And then after that, we're going to clean all this up with soapy water to get the oil off of it. And then I'm going to sandblast it a little bit, see if we can get it cleaned up in preparation for paint. We are now set up to drill out our first Allen head screw that's given us some trouble. For those of you that do not know what this is a horizontal milling machine. It was pretty much made obsolete by the vertical milling machine, but it still has a whole lot of uses, and I utilize it when I get an opportunity. What I've done is I've just anchored the base of this Beverly shear to the table on this horizontal milling machine, and I've got this drill bit centered up on the Allen head, and I'm going to try to start drilling it out, and my hopes is it gets a little bit hot and just start screwing it out the back side. We'll see how it goes. Seems to be very hard. Let's get a little lubricant on it. As you can probably tell, this set screw is really hard. We try to find a better bit, maybe something a little tougher. I'm being forced to drill this with carbide. You'll see I have the spindle speed up a whole lot higher. Let's see if we can get through the center of this set screw. Carbide bits are very, very brittle. Okay, I'm seeing some evidence that we're all the way through it. I have been forced to use my good carbide tooling on this. I don't like using my good tooling for stuff like this, but I think I'm having to. Okay, I saw evidence that we're all the way through. Let's see what we got. Okay, we got it. We missed center a little bit, but we didn't damage any expensive tooling, so I'm okay with that. Now we're working on our 3 screws holding the upper jaw on that are all stripped out currently. What I've done is I've set up my vertical mill. I got a tilting vise here, and I used a milling cutter to square up on the head of the bolt to make sure I'm at the same angle it's at. And we're going to try to drill it out. Okay, we're through it with a 3/16. Now I'm going to move up to a 1/4 inch. Made it through there. And the head appears to be loose. There we we go. 2 more to go. Much foul language later, I've gotten all the broken bolts out. I've put some bolts in all the freshly tapped holes. Now sprayed these parts with degreaser, and I'm gonna pressure wash them a little bit for the next phase of cleaning. As you can see, we have now completed the blasting process. I'm sorry I didn't let y'all go along for the whole ride. I subjected my camera to as much as that as I felt comfortable. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start cleaning up all these parts and getting them ready for painting. That'll consist of cleaning out any tapped hole, getting all the sand off of everything. Then I also have areas that I'm going to do a little filing on. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but this area works metal to metal, and at some point in time this thing was operated with very little lubricant on it, so it's made some pretty bad galling. So I'm going to be filing all those areas down, and then I'll tape up those areas to keep them from getting any paint on them when I go through the painting process. So let's see if we can get going on that. Shows up a little better now, but I think this will be fine as long as we keep some grease on this thing. I think it'll operate fine. We'll clean up the rest of the parts like that, then we'll start taping them up. Looking nice. I think that'll work. And we'll clean all the sand out of these. The only threaded holes we really have on the main body are these 2 3/8 16s. See if we can get those cleaned out. Okay, now on to taping. We'll tape up any area that operates metal to metal. Otherwise, if I did paint those surfaces, I would just have to sand it off anyway or file it off, so might as well not put ourselves through that. That should do. It should do nicely. We have everything sandblasted and taped off, and so I'm going to paint the areas that are on bottom sides or insides first. That way I can turn them down, and the areas that are going to be exposed will hopefully look the best. We're going to go ahead and spray some smoke gray on these parts so we can turn them over. We'll let that color tack off a little bit, and then we'll get them all in their upright and outward facing positions and get a little more paint on them. We're about to put our final coat of smoke gray so that I don't get overspray on all my parts. I'm starting on the upwind side, and then I'll move downwind and gradually give one last coat on everything. See how it goes. Do the outside perimeter first, and we'll get the flat side. That should do. We'll let that sit till tomorrow and see what we got. If you recall, there was a couple of these 3/4 inch diameter bolts that I had to hammer the socket on to get this Beverly shear part. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to file all the flats and clean these up just a little bit so we can reassemble a little easier. Now a 1-inch socket easily slides on those, so we're good there. Now I'm going to wire wheel this bolt just to give it a little brush finish, and we're not going to paint these at all. For those of you watching, I want you to keep in mind this is a very soft bristle brush. I would never suggest doing what I'm fixing to do with a coarse brush, but with this fine brush it works fine. I've put my hands into this brush a few times accidentally. It's not that harmful. Pretty nice look. Nor would I endorse the use of gloves doing that. If you're on a coarse brush, you need to find something that holds the object you're trying to brush firmly and do it that way. Also, while we were disassembling this, we have a lock nut here that is rusted really bad, and cosmetically it just looks horrible. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new one of those from a full-size nut. So what I've done is I've locked 2 3/4 inch nuts together, and I need to cut this down to about a 450 thickness. So what I've done is I've locked them together, leaving hanging off the end the amount that I need to cut off, plus or minus. So when I chuck these up, as I start cutting them, I'll know when I start getting close to the end of the bolt, I'm nearly where I need to be. You'll have to excuse the noise in a moment. My phase converter makes a lot of noise. We're running at about 355 RPMs, which should be fine for something like this. Okay, we're approaching where we need to be. The 440 is about where we need to be. We're about at 450, so we're gonna try to make a little clean cut. What I've done now is I've changed tool holders, and I'm going to set this at about a 45 degree, and we're just going to knock the corners of our hex off, just to give it a little nicer look. Okay, that should do the job. Let's start unwrapping this thing, see what we got. It's not perfect, but certainly tolerable. Hey, we're going to get going on the assembly. All the surfaces that are metal to metal, I'm going to put a little grease on them, so maybe we can prevent future galling on these surfaces. If I remember right, the long bolt goes in the bottom or at the hinge point. I've basically adjusted that where I just have a little friction there. Feels pretty good. See if we can get our new lock nut on there. We'll see if we can get our hold down on there. Now we're going to work on putting the jaw on there, the lower jaw. I didn't quite know what to do with these, so I just ran a diamond stone along this cutting edge, and we'll just play around with it and see what it does. See if we can get the upper jaw on there now. If you will recall, there was Allen head set screws in here. I'm going to try these square head ones just to maybe prevent having to drill out another set one day, and I think it might look nice in there. Not really sure the right way to set these, but we're just going to try. We've gotten everything assembled now. As far as adjustment is concerned, what I've done is I have zero play at the spare gear between the two arms. I also have zero play at the hinge point, and with my lack of knowledge, what I did on the lower jaws is I basically just have them zero clearance there where they're rubbing together. When you operate the shear, I just tightened everything up till you get a little bit of drag. If someone has knowledge on these and knows how to adjust them properly, please let me know. But let's give it a little whirl. Okay, what we have here is some 1/16 thick aluminum checker plate. Well, it certainly cuts it easy. Okay, let's try some 1/8 inch aluminum plate. Certainly cuts that easy as well. Let's move on to some mild steel scrap. This is 1/16 mild steel. Like butter. I'm pretty impressed. Okay, this is 1/8 inch mild steel. Takes a little more effort, but cuts it very easy, especially if you get closer to the pivot point. I'm pretty impressed. Okay, what we have here is one complete number 3 Beverly shear. I really enjoyed this little project. I've always wanted a Beverly shear, Was fortunate enough to come across this one at a good deal. Of course, as you saw, it was frozen in pretty poor shape. But overall, I'm pleased with this project. If you enjoyed this project, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll do another one soon. Thanks for joining me. One last little look around. I think it's going to be okay.